Okay, well, welcome to the Board of Management meeting of the Downtown Brantford Business Improvement Area, June 9th, 2021. I'll read the procedural rules for virtual meetings. All microphones are to be muted unless you have been, unless you're speaking. All cameras shall remain on. If you wish to speak, press or raise your hand or raise your visual hand. Service interruption, if that affects quorum, we will take a 15-minute recess to reestablish quorum. If quorum cannot be established, the meeting will be adjourned. Please observe the City of Brantford Code of Conduct, and this meeting will be transmitted on YouTube. Thank you. All right, so. And I'm sorry, I'm trying to connect to YouTube now. Okay, if all else fails, we will upload this meeting immediately after the meeting. I'm so sorry. I am so sorry. Okay, we'll start with the roll call. Annette, please.
Barbara Sutherland.
Present.
Anne Marie Boak. Councillor Wall.
Present.
Mayor Davis.
Present.
Carrie Korfman.
Here.
Karen Towler.
Present.
Dwight Rose. Elizabeth Coster. Is Lizanne here?
Yeah, Lizanne is here. She just doesn't have her mic on.
Yep. All right, perfect. Okay, that's your Board of Management.
Is it on now?
Yes, Lizanne, thank you.
Sorry.
Yes, thank you.
All right, we're off to a good start this morning. All right. Item number 2, the approval of the agenda. May I have a motion to approve the agenda? Dwight, thank you. Seconded by Carrie. Thank you so much. All in favor? Yes, thank you. Carried. We do have a change in order in the agenda, and we will be bringing Jennifer and 6.1 to the up to the 3.1. Declarations of conflict of interest. Do I see any? Kevin, Mayor Davis, yes, okay.
Yeah, first of all, I wanted to say that during the delegation portion, I may have to go off camera to deal with something here at my house, but I'll still be listening.
All right, thank you.
But I think on 6.2, I've got to declare a conflict, not because of pecuniary interest per se for me, but I am here in my capacity as the head of council, not otherwise as a member of the BIA. And this does ask council to do something. So it's, I don't know, it just it gets me conflicted, I think. So I think it's probably appropriate that that I not participate in the debate for fear of influencing in any fashion whatsoever. But assuming I'm here during the council update, I'd be happy to respond to some of the concerns that might be expressed during that portion of the meeting.
All right, thank you, Mayor Davis. All right, any other conflicts of interest? I can't see the whole screen, so if you do, please speak up. No. All right, thank you so much. All right, we'll go on to, well, we're right to Jennifer Middleton on 6.1. Jennifer, you're up. Good morning.
Good morning. This is perfect timing because I'm currently at a pancake breakfast and one of the drivers didn't show up, so I need to go do deliveries. So thank you so much for accommodating me. I'm just doing my report on downtown events, correct?
Yes, well,
Okay.
on the
Or is this on the
it's on the sponsorship.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so the sponsorship request was for either the Fitness in the Square or for do-it-yourself workshops. And the Fitness in the Square is something that's been happening for many years, and we've partnered with many people within the community. Unfortunately, this year things are a lot different. So this year we have to pay Gretzky staff to be on board for the training of COVID safety protocols, etc. So that's why the request for funding has come in for that. We'll be offering it Monday to Friday, once a day, and it's free for the community. You just have to pre-register. And so that's that one. And then do-it-yourself workshop is happening in the evenings on Thursdays. And we're contracting Aliki and some other community members to help bring some business to them. Unfortunately, there will be a cost associated with this one. And so the ask for sponsorship was to help alleviate some of that cost. And the reason for that is we want to be able to give back to some of our artists in the community who have been really lacking the business over the past year and a half. If there's any questions, please let me know.
Okay, does anyone have a question of Jennifer? Because otherwise I think we'll keep the item at 6.1, but Jennifer wanted to explain the purpose of the grant. So any questions just at the outset?
Yeah, I might.
Go ahead,
I'm
Chair
sure.
Davis.
So Jen, will you not be here then for 6.1? I given what you said, or certainly like to hear about 6.1. So.
Well,
Just,
okay.
Madam Chair, just wondering if we might, I know we set the agenda, but I know Jen has to be away for a bit, and wondering how we might deal with that.
Oh, okay, we can deal with the whole thing right now. That's fine. All right, so Jennifer's explained what this is. We need a motion to put this on the table. Carrie, yes, thank you. Could I have a seconder? Karen, thank you. All right, so open conversation now. Any questions of, okay, Karen, go ahead. I'm sorry, Mayor Davis was first. Thank you.
Yeah, well, I'm going to kind of change it a little bit, but I mean, part of the problem we've had downtown is we've not had any events, right, for the last year and a half. So, Jan, you're involved in that. In fact, there's a video on my Facebook that talks about just briefly what's lined up at Harmony Square this summer.
Okay, so we've got fitness 5 days a week. We have a roller skating with a DJ. This is new this year. We're really excited about that. That's happening on Mondays and Wednesdays. There's going to be do-it-yourself workshops. There's going to be music in the square starting on July 30th and all throughout August. And that's to comply with the new roadmap from the province. There's going to be a splash and fun, so kids can rent. It's free to rent. Beach toys, etc., to play in the splash pad, and we'll sanitize them after each use and then have that each day. There's a new one called Character Meet and Greet, and there'll be princesses and superheroes coming downtown, and you can have a socially distanced picture with them. We're also going to offer crayons and a coloring page of that princess or superhero so they can color and then get it autographed by whoever's on site. So that one we're also really excited for. So those are the events that are happening COVID friendly this summer in Harmony Square.
Karen?
My question, I think, has been answered. It was, what is the frequency of the fitness? So it's 5 days a week, all summer long? Great.
Okay. Dwight? Dwight, your microphone's off.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right, I was muted for some reason. I just wanted to be clear here. what the executive, we have recommended this as a $500 contribution towards the fitness classes, right? Specifically, yeah.
Mhm. Good. Any other questions of Jennifer? Oh, Carrie, do you have a question?
I just want to say how happy I am to hear that there's all events this summer. Thank you very much to the city for doing that. That's great. I think with the extra people downtown, it will certainly help our social situation. Thanks.
All right, so Dwight, would you like to speak again?
Yes, and it says basically, I mean, this motion is for the fitness classes and that there, but we did ask Jennifer about checking into washroom facilities there at Harmony Square, and I haven't heard anything about that at all, whether it's fitness classes or children using the sprinkler pad. I think there should be some type of washroom facilities there.
My update on that is it's currently with upper management. I don't know if any of the counselors want to get involved in this. As of right now, it's not being offered. So I don't know if counselors want to get involved in that, but it's in Vicky Armitage's hands right now. And as of right now, there is not going to be a washroom.
Okay, any?
You want me to comment on that, Barbara?
Oh, if you'd like to, yes, go ahead.
Dwight, I will CC you on a email to Vicky right now.
Okay, Chief Davis, go ahead. Yes.
Through the chair, Jennifer, what time will the fitness classes be running? Are they early in the morning or midday?
Majority of them are at 7 a.m. and we've hired a security guard to be on site to just help if there's anybody in the square that shouldn't be there at that time and to make it safe. So I've got a security guard coming at 6:30 in the morning, and there'll be staff on site between 6:30 and 6:45 every morning.
Thank you.
Okay. Further questions of Jennifer? All right, seeing none. I'll call the vote on this motion for that we recommend that the Board of Management contribute $500 towards the fitness classes that will be held in Harmony Square. And may I ask all in favor? And I believe that's carried. Thank you very much. Thank you. All right, thank you, Jennifer.
I'm sorry I have to go, but I'll come
Yeah.
as soon as I come back. Okay, thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much. All right. So that's taken care of. All right. So now we have a few delegations this morning. And I'll ask, Ben's my co-host this morning, Ben Strasser from All Day Breakfast, because it was just too much this morning. So Ben, do we have Nicola?
I don't see her yet unless she's under a different name,
Okay.
but I don't see her there. The next one would be Kelly after that. And
All right.
She is in the waiting room.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Ben. All right. If you could bring Kelly to us and all right. I'm so sorry. The screen. Kelly, are you here? Oh, there you are. I'm sorry. All right, Kelly, you can unmute yourself. Welcome. I would ask you to identify yourself and your business. And you have 10 minutes for your presentation. If you don't use your 10 minutes, there will be time for questions. All right, please go ahead.
So Kelly from Market Street Dental. The primary concerns that we are facing is the safety of our patients and staff. The problems we face daily are the vagrant people on our property, drug use, most recently an overdose in our driveway, needles littered on the sidewalks, garbage and drug paraphernalia that has been left behind. It is not uncommon now to open our front or side door and find people doing drugs right in front of us. Vagrant people are now regularly looking in all the staff's car windows. When we ask them to leave, the behavior that arises is often shocking. We are sworn at, called every name in the book. Garbage is tossed at us and the building. And most recently, an irate man exposed himself to one of our staff members. Sadly, sometimes there have been children in the area when this behavior is taking place. Patients and staff are becoming more afraid to come downtown. They should not have to face drug use and crazed people when entering and exiting our office. We had a new patient reach out to us. They had heard great things about our office. Last week when she came to fill out forms, she was the one that discovered a person face down in our driveway. After that, a large crowd of onlookers, medical personnel came to assist the man. When she left, she said, "I don't think this was a very good first impression." And the next day, she did call and cancel all of her appointments. We've had to hire a person to clean up the front of our office every day. He sweeps up needles, collects the trash that has been ripped open and rummaged through. He washes vomit, urine, etc. off our property and the neighboring businesses as well. A resident approached me the other day and asked if we had a problem with the needles. And she said that she just lives off of Market Street. She's been there for a long time. She said that now it's not uncommon for her to open her front door and see half a dozen needles there every morning. Another thing too that we're concerned about is that our street is treated like a dumping ground. So it's not uncommon to have, we can see out the window people pulling up. They dump their trash bags. They're not from that street. They dump their trash bags, furniture, pieces of carpet. We've seen spare tires being dumped off at the side of the road and then they pull away. We have sent emails and we have received a lot of feedback. The problem still seems to be getting worse by the day. When we call the police for help, sometimes it's successful. Other times we're met with resistance. So I understand they do ask a lot of questions, but it's, you know, what are they wearing? What's their gender? How many are there? Where they are exactly? I'm able to provide them with an address, but sometimes we're faced with some resistance and we can sense that we're annoying the person that's taking the call. So that's discouraging us to call. So lately we haven't been calling. We're desperate for a downtown task force. These people are pushing the long-term businesses out and making the downtown very unsafe and undesirable. We need to feel safe when coming to work, and our patients need to feel safe when coming for their medical appointments. And that's my presentation that I have.
Thank you, Kelly. We have 6.5 minutes left. Does anyone have questions of Kelly? Seeing none, am I correct? Oh, Chief Davis, go ahead.
Not so much a question, but an ask is when you're calling the comm center, if you experience that vibe that you're annoying the dispatcher, can you please ask for their name?
Sure.
Pass that on to me.
Yep.
Because you're not alone that I'm hearing that from, and that
Yeah.
irritates
Yeah.
me. But I need to know to fix it.
Okay. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
All right. Any further comments or conversation with Kelly? Councillor Wall?
Sorry, thanks, Kelly, for the presentation. I want to echo what Chief Davis just said. I know, you know, as a resident and business owner in the core as well, how sometimes you don't want to call it in. It's just an ask. Please call it in. Chief Davis and his team rely on the number of calls that come in when they ask for support. If people don't call, then the numbers don't add up. And when they were trying to get funding, whether it's from council or from other sources for more resources, and that's not just an ask of you, it's ask of anybody listening. If you see behavior in the downtown that you believe is criminal and needs the police, please call it in, even if you just do it through the online reporting portal. And, you know, if it's something that's maybe just no minor, but I think you know what I mean. Sorry, I won't repeat that today, but for anybody, if you experience issues that involve the police, call it in, always.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Lizanna?
It's a little confusing for for us because we're told to call the police and then we're told not to call the police, to call the security, that the task of 6. And then you call them and they say, no, we can only do city property. We can't be liable for your property. So it's a little confusing because who do we call? I've called both.
Okay, thanks, Lizanna. All right, well, I believe the police have said that if it's on private property, you call the police. Okay. Dwight, go ahead, you have 3 minutes.
I want to thank Kelly for coming forward, but I think there's a great problem with, I'll call it Market Street North there. At all the way up, there seems to be an epidemic with all these problems. And I mean, I've been in the Corps for 50 years. I've seen it, but it's getting worse with the drugs, and they have no respect for anything, and just the social behavior. And there is a daycare center as well there, a central school that's very close to all that. So, but it seems to be an intense area within that Market Street North, from the core to Lucy Street all the way up to the train station. It has the majority of the problems, and I don't know if it mitigates out of Victoria Park. I mean, there's a lot of help agencies helping some people, but I think they're adding to the problem here by I mean, they just congregate around, and that leads to a lot of bad things. So once it's allowed, it just keeps going. It's getting worse and worse. I call it summer in the city here, and if we don't make an attempt to do something about this, it's only steadily going to get worse with what's going on. So.
Thank you, Dwight. Did you have a question for Kelly? That's the purpose of this comment right now.
Yep.
No. Okay. Thank you. Oh, hi. Any questions of Kelly? That's what we're doing right at the moment. Okay. No. All right. Seeing none. Thank you very much, Kelly, for taking your time and your interest in this. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. All right. Our next delegation is Mahmoud from Chinese Sisters. Are you here? Because I don't see anyone on the screen, and I don't believe so. Okay, if Mahmoud turns up, we'll acknowledge. All right, and anyone from Venkat Perugu? Property owner on Market Street. All right, not seeing that. Mary Lou Necto from Fires of Tradition. There you are. Good morning, Mary Lou.
Good morning.
All right.
Okay.
I'll let you get settled there for a second.
Okay.
Right. All right. Welcome.
Well, thank you.
I'm ready to go, and you have 10 minutes to speak.
It won't take that long,
Okay.
but I want to echo very much what Kelly had to say. We have a business at 137 Nelson Street. We were moved over to the BIA a few years back, and of course that brings added taxes. What we've tried to do is maintain the heritage look of our building. Going back 3 years, we had somebody in the middle of the night come and cut our hydro right at the top mast going on the front building. Then they pulled out the hydro going back 150 feet. So we didn't have any power. As a result of that, we were told by the insurance, you need more lights. So we put more lights up. So what we've discovered is that people now hide behind the hedge So they can't be seen from the road. And it's there that they hang out, they eat, they shoot up, they do whatever. So putting the lights up we thought was going to be a good deterrent, and instead it's landed up being a benefit for some. So we've showed up at work. I don't want to get into all the negative things, very much like what Kelly has experienced. It gets very frustrating. The guys that work for us, they tend to clean up. I went across the street to the plaza where there's a daycare, and I spoke to her, and I'm sure the BIA, now she's just renting, so I don't know if there's been a lot of one-on-one contact, but her response from the health board was they would put a needle drop box out at the side of the building. Well, this is unacceptable for a daycare where people come and go, bringing their children back and forth. We've had numerous times where people have almost OD'd at the back part of our property because they can be hidden. I want to thank the police because they have showed up. We followed the letter saying that if you have problems, you give police the opportunity to go on your property and drive around to check it out. So I don't know if that's helped or not. Recently, there was a fire at a home two houses down where it was a known drug use house, and there was a lot of ongoing back and forth selling. So I think that fire has probably going to stop. But once again, as the police will say, they're just going to move to another area. So I've stood back. I'll go into work or I'm about to leave, and there'll be a young man sitting down on the rocks outside our building. And he's rummaging through his bag for something. Well, he doesn't speak. Next thing you know, he goes to the back part of our lot where he has a cup hidden. And he goes to the front of our building and he's coming to get a drink of water. Now, we're into heat season right now. I heard earlier on there's not going to be any washroom available in the downtown. I don't know if that's the case, but here you got a human condition here where you can't even get a drink of water, you can't use a washroom, and heaven forbid a shower. So there's a humanity aspect to this. Sure, they're homeless, they may be users. We had a young girl living with her grandmother who's in her 80s, and they were staying, I live on a county road outside. They were booted out because the landlord wanted to fix up the place. So they were booted out. They lived for 6-9 months, in their vehicle, slept in their vehicle, and they will come out here just to be able to get reprieve and get away to have some space. Now, a lot of the people that are frequenting the downtown, I want to ask this of the police or somebody, is there a tent city set up anywhere? Because I've tried to talk to some of these people, and some of them want to be left alone in their own space, but there's communities. They've withdrawn away from others and they want to hang around with these communities. So is there a tent city set up anywhere where they can go? Is there any washrooms, water, anything provided anywhere for them to be able to use? Because having to pick up things at the back part of our building is disgusting. And this has been going on for quite a while. I think this is a problem that's faced by a lot of other communities. I don't know how Kitchener, somebody was saying in Kitchener, they have kind of tiny homes or compartments where people can lock up their belongings. What belongings now that are being brought around the city in shopping carts. That's their home, is their shopping cart with their belongings. And they're angry. I don't blame them for being angry. They have nowhere to go. So unfortunately, we live in the downtown area, and that's where, the methadone clinic is. That's where there's nobody hanging around now because the Laurier is closed. So I feel that we can work together. I don't want to just dismiss a lot of these people. I think there's some that just cannot live at home and they've been booted out and they're in transition. They don't know what to do. They can't get a job. So I know when there was a tent city set up right across on ICOM Drive, That was a city-owned property. I don't know what the level of problems were that were there. I want to ask of the police, you know, and counselors, what do you think should be done? Because I'm going to always provide a drink for some of these people. And there ought to be a place somewhere that they can use a washroom. You know, heaven forbid, if we were out for a walk and wanted to use a washroom, what would we do? So that's all I want to say about it. But you know, it's not going to go away, as I think Councillor Wall suggested. We're just hitting the height of summer now, and these people are sleeping in the parks in broad daylight because they have nowhere to go. So as a business owner, I want to try to help solve this because there's a human value to what is going on here. And I don't want the city to be looked down because of this. So those are my questions. And I guess I would ask if there's a tent city set up anywhere for some of these people, because I know there's many groups. So if somebody could answer that at the top bar on my computer, I would appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Lou. Are there any questions of Lou?
Or answers?
Councillor
I have a
Wall.
question if there are none coming forward from the board.
Councillor Wall had a question. Thank you, Councillor Van Tilburg.
Yeah, sorry. So Barbara, I just want to confirm your rules here. Do you want me to address any of her questions, or do you want me to?
You can. You can. You can. We have 2.5 minutes.
Great. I'm not going to take up that whole 2.5 minutes. Lou, why don't we connect maybe after the meeting? We can have a bit of a chat. My question for you was, are you aware that our social services meetings are recorded and broadcast on YouTube and have the ability for members of the public to be able to watch? There's a number of different initiatives happening right now, including Brantford's first case home project, which is similar to a tiny home project. It also gives reports on what encampments that are happening in the community and what staff are doing with outside agencies to respond and work with the people who are in those encampments. It also talks about programs that are in place for vulnerable people to be able to have access to washroom facilities, access to food, clothing, medication, doctor's appointments, etc. And I feel like you may not have that information, and I want to make sure that you do. So if anybody who's here today would like to have that conversation with a member of our social services department, I actually believe someone might actually be on the call, which we can address maybe later in the meeting. But Lou, if you'd like to have more of a one-on-one, please reach out to me afterwards and I'll make sure you get all the answers that you request to your questions. Okay?
Okay, well, we're trying to give solutions here. So thank you. I'll be in touch.
Okay, thank you. We have about a minute left. Any other conversation with Lou? Okay, seeing none.
I did have a question, if that's okay.
I think Councillor Brand.
Okay, I did an exception. Councillor Van Tilburg, go ahead.
Yeah, Lou, you know, you're hitting some of the humanitarian aspects, and so perhaps this is something that you might, the BIA or the city might wish to look at, and that is since we have security and everybody here all in one pool, just to start a ball in discussion, we do know that the washroom issue has become a problem along many businesses. And if we can open up a washroom for a certain period of time with a security there at that moment, because we have other issues with regarding washroom availability, do you think that might be a discussion worth following? What's your thoughts on that, Lou?
Go ahead, Lou.
It's definitely something. It's you know, it's ridiculous. You go, you know, there's nothing available. So I would say yes, and this is echoed by Dale Renault, who's the pastor at Rawdon Street Church, who has similar issues because they go down there, and he is the one that tries to exercise some judgment as to what to do. So yes, there should be something open. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very, very much, Lou, for coming or attending this morning. And I'm sure Councillor Wall will be in touch with you. Okay. All right. Thank you. All right.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Our next presentation is Warren Mark from Oriental Restaurant. I don't know if I lost Warren.
Oh, hello.
Okay.
Oh,
Oh, there
can
you.
Yeah.
Okay, yes, sorry, Warren.
That's okay.
All right. Go ahead, Warren. You have 10 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak to you about my concerns in the downtown area. As you are aware, we as business and property owners have been facing a very dangerous escalation of vandalism, excessive loitering, littering, visible drug use and distribution, unsightly piles of debris, and intimidating behavior resulting from substance abuse. These are just some of the issues we are constantly facing on a day-to-day basis. Just a couple of weeks ago, I personally had an incident with a group of individuals distributing and using illegal narcotics on the front window and sidewalk. After making a few inquiries, I was informed that there's really not much I can do with regards to loitering on public sidewalks. So that'll be one of my questions later today. That said, I'm here today not to address what can't be done, but possibly what are we able to do. First and foremost, beyond a reasonable doubt, there is a problem. And this problem will only get bigger and more difficult to resolve if we do not address it immediately. We're probably not the only municipality experiencing this decline in social behavior. So maybe if we communicate, exchange ideas with other municipalities, maybe we gain from their experiences. How did they handle their issues? Was it successful? If not, why? What happened? Maybe we can learn from each other. With their cooperation, maybe we can react and be more effective in our response. We also need the input from people and businesses affected. We need to listen and place ourselves in their situation. Remember, they and their staff work, and some may even live in the area. They will know what is going on and can identify who and what the problems are. They can see things that a member of a consulting firm or task force may not be able to. Social decline is ever changing. A solution that will work today may not work a week from now or in a different area. There is no one size fits all solution. This will be an ongoing project, and any task force assigned must be willing to adapt to these changes and work with the residents in the affected area. Remember, we are here not to take away rights and freedoms from anyone, but the rights and freedoms of the individuals loitering should not supersede those of the businesses and the residents they affect. We do not need to walk out every morning and find property littered with debris, human waste, or drug use. We also have the right to a safe place to work and live, free from harassment, intimidation, and fear. So in conclusion, all I have to say is we need to act. If we do not, what is happening in downtown area will only get worse and it will spread to other areas in Brantford. The limited resources we have now will only get stretched even further. So I guess finally, my only question I have today is I need some assistance with clarification and interpretation of the section 175 of the criminal code and the municipal bylaw 556 with regards to loitering. Are they enforceable? So that's the end of my talk.
Thank you, Warren. I appreciate your coming today. Does anyone have a question? Anyone from the board have a question of Warren? Any comment? Councillor Wong?
Warren, thanks so much for being here today. And I think that there isn't anybody who didn't see the video that was posted, and no one deserves to be treated that way. And I'm sorry that it happened to you in your establishment. No one should have to experience that. My question is, since that's happened, has it continued to happen with those same individuals? I guess I'll go one question at a time. That's the first question.
I haven't seen those individuals before, although I've seen them across the street, or they're around. They will be around. It's just an accepted fact that these people probably will come back. As far as problems, I still experience litter. I still have to go out, occasionally to, ask people to leave. I've still been threatened, but I've become used to that. It's sort of like an occurrence that I've grown to accept.
Would you mind sharing a little bit about what happened after that video exploded online? Could you talk a little bit about, how the community maybe reached out to you, or any media outlets or anyone else who reached out to you?
They were very supportive. The few comments I did on YouTube, I think everyone can see, they were very, very supportive. And I'm very grateful that the people did respond and, really nicely to me. I wasn't sure what to expect when the video, my intention wasn't to embarrass anybody or anything, but I think people should be aware of what's happening and see firsthand, like what a lot of the residents and businesses are experiencing. I mean, I was just fortunate to have my phone with me when I went out, and I decided the group of people I might record it just in case something were to happen. And in this situation, it has. Like I said, being threatened or accosted, it's to be expected, and everyone approaching these people have to be vigilant. You when you go out, you have to be careful, and that's all I'm saying. And that's the whole purpose of me bringing the video to your attention, is what can happen.
I don't mean to put you too much on the spot, but I do want to ask, because ultimately here is a delegation today because of a request from the BIA for the city of Brantford to create a task force of sorts to address societal issues that are happening in the core. As a business owner in the core and someone who's been there for a long time, has staff, etc., do you have a specific ask or request that you would like to see of the police that are here today, or of your council representatives? Is there something specific that you want, an action item you want immediately today? You know what I mean? Or do you know what I mean?
I know what you mean. And I think the police are limited what they can do. I mean, they can only go as far as the law will allow them to do. I mean, there's no sense in trying to press charges if it's not going to hold, or, it's going to get thrown out, and I can totally understand that, and they have a priority of calls. Obviously, the more important and more dangerous calls they have to respond to, they have to. I mean, and a case of loitering, or that may or may not turn violent, they don't know that. But I mean, if someone's being accosted somewhere else, or there's a domestic dispute, they have to respond to those situations, and I totally get it. But what I'm saying is, it's something has to be done. I'm at a loss, maybe communicating with other municipalities. They might be able to help share from their experiences. I'm sure there are successful, experiences people, have come to, but it's one of those things that it's getting worse. And I personally, I don't have the resources to do anything. I can ask people to leave. I can, be vigilant. I can ask my staff to be careful, but aside from that, I'm at a loss.
Sorry, just one more question. That's two questions, Barbara.
Yeah.
And this is for all the delegations. I probably should have asked it of everybody. I'm asking you, but please, to the delegations that are still listening, are you intending on pursuing this further up the chain to your provincial and your federal representatives? Whereas, the things like the drugs are a part of a federal initiative with the borders, et cetera, or the provincial allocating more resources to the municipalities for mental health and, just health support in general. Are you intending on, are you intending on contacting the MP and MPP?
Warren, did you hear Councillor Wall's question?
Oh, I'm sorry. I wasn't. I thought he was addressing the other.
Sorry, I'm addressing all the delegations.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
I probably should have said it earlier, but yes, yourself though. Have you contacted the MP or MPP's office?
I'm sorry, not as of yet. I was just looking for options, within the city of Brantford, before I reached out, and I'm not sure if federally or provincially they can assist me, because I understand that this is a problem with other municipalities as well, just reading the news. So I'm not sure if reaching out to them at the present time would help until we have a little direction in what we're going to do. I mean, to approach, someone federal or provincially, if we don't have a plan in place, it's sort of going empty-handed. And I think I would like, before I approach anybody, I would like to have some sort of direction and, as to where I'm going with, my inquiry.
Thank you so much, Warren, for answering my.
Thank you for listening. I really
Thank you
appreciate
for
it. Thank
being
you.
here.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everyone, very much. Chief Davis, did you have a question? Sorry.
Is Warren still there? Did he?
Yeah,
leave?
I'm still here. Yeah.
Warren's still here, and you know, I'll give you the time to ask your question.
So in no way am I giving you direction or guidance.
Mhm.
That's not my role here. You asked, is section 175 of the criminal code still enforceable? The short answer is yes, it is. However, the type of offense it is they get released on a type of release where they're not taken off to jail. So if that's the issue, is it's an offense where they're not getting held before a justice to see if they'll be remanded in custody because of the type of offense it is. You made a comment, though, the rights and freedoms of those loitering should not supersede the rights and freedoms of individuals and business owners. Should you decide to reach out to the MPP or to the MP, this is what I'm hearing constantly. This is what the officers are frustrated with. In 2019, there was bail reform, and Brantford was one of the study cities prior to 2019 that they looked at. And so we're in a perfect storm where people are not being held, and then COVID has amplified that. And we feel your frustration that it's become a rotating door.
Mhm.
So should you reach out to the MPP or the MP, I ask you to please say exactly what you said here today about, do those individuals' rights and freedoms trump your rights and freedoms as a business owner and individual?
Oh, thank you. That's very good words of advice. Thank you.
Mayor Davis.
Yeah, Madam Chair. So I take the approach of the delegation. We're here to listen, and that's what I'm doing. But Warren, I do have one observation for you following on Chief Davis's comment. And we do have a nuisance bylaw, and it's kind of a similar issue, which is under city bylaws, the only penalty is a fine. And there is no penalty or consequence for not paying a fine. You cannot, people can't go to jail because they might have 50 unpaid fines. And so one of the things, if you're talking to the MP, and I've talked to both MP and MPP about this, and that is that there should be, let's just say, more effective enforcement that we can build into city bylaws, which we're not permitted right now to do by provincial legislation. So that's kind of similar to, if you're familiar with the Safe Streets Act. But anyways, that deals with loitering, pardon me, panhandling. But anyway, so that's part of the problem. But you made the request, and I actually talked to the MPP about it, so I thought I'd pass.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Warren, very much.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. All right. So that's the end of our delegations, and we'll move on to our number 5 on our agenda, which is our consent items. If we could have a motion to approve the minutes of the May 12th meeting of the Board of Management and to receive the Executive Director's report, staff report for April and May. Dwight, you're making the motion. May I have a seconder, please, Carrie? And all in favor? Thank you. Carried. All right. And we've dealt with 6.1. Yes. And that we did vote on that, didn't we? Yes. Okay. All right. All right. 6.2, and we're back to social behavior in the downtown. And we do have a motion, and I believe this was Carrie's motion. And Carrie, would you like to take over on this, just to present the motion? May I have a seconder? Carrie?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. And seconded by Dwight. It's open for discussion. Any comments? Lizanna, go ahead.
Excuse me, Barbara, my battery is going to die in a minute or
Oh.
two. And I want to switch to my iPhone, and I've never done that before, so I'm going to do that now. I'm sorry about that. I forgot to bring the cord up.
That's okay. If we lose you, just try to come back into the meeting. And do we lose quorum if we lose Lizanna, Annette?
No, we don't. We have plenty.
Okay. All right. Thank
Yeah,
you.
I'm gonna try and launch.
All right. Thank you. Dwight, go ahead. Dwight, your microphone's off.
I'm on again. Yep.
You're on again.
Yeah, I just wanted to be clear on this motion here. We, as the BIA, our mandate is specific as to what we're doing, and I don't think it's very clear to everybody what we're responsible for and what we're not responsible for the members here. I mean, we're all tax-paying people and the rest of it, and a lot of these issues should be taken care of through our taxes, not our business taxes, not our BIA levy, which is specifically supposed to be used for beautification and attracting people and the rest of it. Safety and that we go above and beyond with what we're doing here. But it's hard for me to look at putting our ratepayers' BIA money towards issues that should be looked after through city taxes or other issues. This is a big problem, and whether it's a task force action committee, it's very hard to really know what we can do and what we're able to do moving forward. Same as the delegations brought forward to us, same as I've seen for years. It's quite a problem, and without the adequate policing now, and sure there's a security force for public places and the rest of it, but with the COVID-19 has really caused a lot of issues too here with things. I'm sure if things were back to normal and the university was working in the college and more people were around, these unfortunately, I'll call it the socially disadvantaged people here seem to rule the roost now with the downtown core, especially that area, as I'll call it, Market Street North. And we do, as Mark had said there, or Warren had said, we have to come up with some type of action plan, work with the city and everything. But it's a tough one because all our social services for all the socially disadvantaged are all in the core, and all the help's there. And unfortunately, the laws, there's no vagrancy laws anymore. Human rights, actually, as business owners, we feel as though we have less rights than the people just trying to operate our businesses, which is very difficult in this climate out there, and the rest of it. That's all I gotta say with this motion here. I'd like to work with somebody. I'd like to be able to come up with some answers, how we can address it, how we can move on with it. But it's a tough one. No, I don't think anybody's got the answer. And I look at other communities and Hamilton and all over. It's a problem all over the world with different things, and drug addiction. It's phenomenal with things. That's all I've got to say.
Thank you, Dwight. Any other comment on the motion? Chief Davis?
It's just a observation, comment, suggestion. I get nervous when I hear about task force or action committees because they inevitably get bogged down into things that will be 5 years out. So if I could offer the suggestion that you somehow build it into this resolution, and again, take it or leave it. It's just My fear is that if you leave it as is, these things inevitably wind up into 5-year plans. And I think there's a need for an immediately form a downtown stakeholder action committee to facilitate the development somewhere in there of immediate, mid-range, and long-term solutions. Because otherwise you're going to just automatically wind up dragged into the long-term stuff. My 2 cents, take it or leave it.
Thank you. Thank you. Any
Uh,
further discussion from the board? Carrie, go ahead.
I think that could be a friendly amendment if everyone agrees.
Okay, all right.
Can I talk as well?
I'm sorry, Carrie, I couldn't hear you.
Well, I just want to talk on the motion.
Yes, go ahead.
So one thing that was mentioned by Lou was bushes and that. So I just want to mention that the police do have a program called SEPTID, which is environmental design for safety. So if any business wants to reach out, I'm sure they can set you up with the officer to come in and look at your property and assess it and see what safety dangers there are and what environmental things could be done to make your place safer. I realize a lot of that is extreme measures that are being done currently, gating and fencing, which of course we don't like measures like that, but simple things like taking bushes out so that people don't have a place to hide, things like that can help. And as for the tent city, as was mentioned, the tent cities that were set up last year and the year before, luckily the mayor got right on top of those, because unfortunately those just create this sense of welcoming that makes people flood in from other communities, which we don't want. People from Toronto and Hamilton were coming to Brantford because they heard it was such a good situation when we had that tent city set up. So we don't want anything like that, but we do need resources for our community members. And for reaching out to the MP for sure, with this catch and release system that they have, it's impossible. And like Sergeant Grantham kind of implied, the police have given up on trying to arrest or, you know, create fear in these people because there's no backlash there. They're sent right out the next day or that day. We see the same people on the street that we had arrested or hoped to be arrested that morning. So I think that would help if everyone does connect with the MPP. And I know the mayor withdrew himself, but I know the mayors throughout Ontario are working on dealing with the problem as well, because of course it's not just our city dealing with it, it's everywhere. That's all for me. Thanks.
Sergeant Grantham, go ahead.
Sorry, can you guys hear me? I'm having some difficulty here.
We can.
Okay, just Carrie, just so you know, I know we've discussed this at great length before. We have not given up. We're not giving up. We're going to continue to do everything we can do. But as I said before, it's just we share the frustration that you guys share as well. Because as the chief pointed out, with bail reform is the biggest issue. John Balone had a few arrests over the last week, and they were out and he was still here doing paperwork and then not being able to be in the Corps. So I just wanted to clarify that. Just we have in no way are giving up. Just to make that clear, that's all.
Yeah, I didn't want to imply that you're not trying to do your job. I know that. So you know, we appreciate, we know you go above and beyond, and that you're kind of at a stranglehold too. So thanks.
Councillor Wall.
Thank you, Barbara. So I want to propose an amendment, I suppose. I'm hoping it'll just be friendly, and it's just dealing with the wording. I want to support this. I just want to make sure it's worded correctly, and I'm maybe hoping someone from staff, or maybe we can just address it later, but I want to remove the word vagrant, and I want to remove the word drug addicts. I just feel there are more appropriate words to use. Vagrant has kind of fallen out of term. I believe we could get that changed. Essentially, that's my concern. So looking for a little bit of help here from staff to make this more appropriate.
Okay.
And seeking a second.
Excuse me. So could we pass that as a friendly amendment, Councillor Wall?
That's up to the mover and seconder of the motion.
Okay. All right. Carrie?
Yeah, I think that could go as friendly.
Right. Okay. All right. I think the essence is still there in the motion. Excuse me. Go ahead, Carrie.
What term would you suggest, Josh? Socially disadvantaged, or?
I mean, I would prefer staff to comment on that. I mean, at the end of the day, in my opinion, these are societal issues caused by human beings, period. You know, it's not just people who are of a certain type. It's not just people, it's people. It's bad behavior, disrespectful behavior from people that is causing issues for the people in the downtown core. I'm sure as long as staff are willing to consult with someone maybe from our social services department, we could have wording that's just more, I guess, parliamentary. I don't know. I just
okay.
Just want to be respectful, that's all. And I don't think there was any disrespect intended with the original motion. I just want to clarify it before I vote.
Mm-hmm. Okay, fair enough. All right. And I'm sorry, do we vote on a friendly amendment? Councillor Wall? No? Okay. All right, so we have a friendly amendment. We'll reword it to make it a little more social, perhaps socially acceptable, and not so definitive about the types of behavior that we're discussing, but we all know what behavior we're discussing in this motion. Any further comments on the motion? Dwight?
I find it difficult here. I know what Councillor Wall's saying there, but I still, you know, as far as specifically putting drug addicts and drug dealers, but it's an illegal drug problem that that is very inherent, and to camouflage it and make it look any different and try to make it user friendly, I think it, you know, the legal drug problem is probably more to the point of what the problem is.
If I may make a recommendation, perhaps we could say illegal drug activity and not make it personal. Go ahead, Dwight.
I'll come from that. That's good. Yeah.
All right. And all right. Any further comments on the motion? All right. Seeing none, may I call the question? All in favor of the motion on the table? Thank you. 1, 2, 3. All opposed? Councillor Wall, I didn't see your vote. Are you not voting? Was that in favor or opposed? Okay. All right. The motion is carried. Thank you so much. And while we're still on social, any more comments on social behavior in the downtown? No, I have a comment. The word vagrant and a newspaper article came out yesterday. I was quoted correctly in some places. I was misquoted in other places. And that happens. That's okay. My distinction is between the homeless who are truly homeless and just trying to find a place for shelter. I define, and the Webster's Dictionary defines, vagrants as people who don't have a permanent place to live and actually drift from place to place, city to city. Are they homeless? It's hard to say. I am so sympathetic for anyone who has lost their homes, their jobs due to COVID or other circumstances, economic circumstances. I don't like to use the word interchangeably, and I never will. Homeless are not vagrants if they're truly just homeless. Vagrants are vagrants. Vagrants are in our downtown. They're not just leaning against a tree and just trying to find a place to sleep at night. We have seen the activity that is happening in our downtown. And I don't want to cobble homeless with vagrants. And so that's why the word vagrants has come up. That's why it's in the article. That's why I use the word vagrants, because we need to make that definition so we're not painting homeless with the same brush. And I think it's very important to make that distinction. So I will continue to use the word vagrants when I'm discussing people with bad behavior, the drug addicts in the downtown, those who are assaulting other people. They're not the homeless. They might be homeless, but they're not the people that we need to protect. It's my 2 cents. All right, any other comments on social behavior in the downtown? If not, we'll move forward to item number 6.3. And I'm sorry.
I'd like to make a comment on that.
Go ahead, Councillor Van Tilburg.
I just want to say that you're on a fine thread there, but you're making a point that's very valid, and that people that are marginalized and homeless are being victimized by people that you describe as in the vagrant category. And so what is happening is a tarring of the brush of the people that are in a vulnerable position, where we know that the societal issues and behaviors that you wish to address are, and I don't know, I think you picked the word vagrant, there's a definition for it. So, I mean, I think you're on the right path in the fact that you have to differentiate the problem on the street between, is it homelessness, is it somebody out there that's managing to hustle, you know, $750 a day to use on their drug habit and spread it around with their friends. Huge difference. Huge difference. So that I think you're doing a service in a way, because I don't want to see people that are marginalized and homeless being put there by the rest of the community, or the people that we see that are causing the social behaviors being claimed as homeless. And then everybody says, well, I don't want to help the homeless because look what they do. So truthfully, you have actually hit a point there, and the wording is important. So that's just my comment, and I will exit your meeting.
Thank you, Councillor. All right, we'll move on to, sorry, there are our liaison reports, and we have Sergeant Christopher Grantham up next.
Thank you all. I don't have a lot of stuff to give you. Annette, I know that the stats just went through. I've been having some issues with my email. One thing I'd like to say in response to everything else that has been coming up, hopefully the chief will, I know the chief will look into it. He's not going to let it slide, but if things are happening and it's things that are criminal acts, then you definitely need to be calling us. If you're concerned for your safety, people are screaming, yelling in the street, you need to call us, and we need to assess and figure out what to do with that. If it's going to be a mental health issue, if it's a fight that's going on downtown, a physical confrontation, then we can address that as it comes up. So obviously that's something we'll have to work at on our end here. And I can assure you that the chief will look that. He's not going to let that go. So don't hesitate to call us. I've said that many, many times. If we don't know about things that are going on, then we definitely cannot do anything about it. A lot of the stuff is social disorder. Like technically someone ripping open garbage and throwing garbage all over the street, it could be a mischief. However, the way the court looks at it, it's very, very, very low end, and it's really, to be honest, is not going to go anywhere. And that's the frustration that we feel. I know it was brought up, causing a disturbance, section 175. That's another one where there is a statute there that we have the ability to use. However, once we get there, it's a fine committing offense because it's classified as a summary conviction. So if we don't see it happening when we get there, we can possibly lay a charge, but we can't make an arrest at all. And even if we do make an arrest, it's going to be a piece of paper, as the chief indicated earlier. Just on that note, John Balone, he's doing his EOC duties, but he's also trying to get downtown as much as possible. But just to give you an idea, he was walking downtown in the area of Tim Hortons on Dalhousie, right by Carrie's establishment there. And he caught a gentleman pulling off the eaves trough off of one of the buildings. So this is for scrapping, as they say. It's not really scrapping if you're destroying people's property to obtain this. So he ended up arresting this person. And because of the nature of the offense, and the record of the person, he had to give the person a piece of paper. So he gave the person their piece of paper to appear in court. What happens once it goes to court is going to be up to our justice system. But again, the way the courts view it, it's more on the lower scale. I know it's not for the lower scale for the property owner, however. So once that happened, he's next to do reports. He was on the way to the station to do his reports. And then he made 3 more arrests in Harmony Square where people were using drugs right in Harmony Square, right in view of everybody. So he now has 4 arrests. So again, drug use, fine line, because, a lot of people need help and assistance with that, even though it is technically a criminal act. I know that we're starting to move towards decriminalization, and we're going to see that more as we move ahead here. So now he's got 4. He gives them pieces of paper as well. So he's been having a chance maybe for 45 minutes to walk the beat downtown. And now we got arrests with with charge packages and all the documentation that goes with it. So that took him off the road for about 4 or 5 hours. And then he was able to get back out there. But just to give you an idea, some of the frustration we have. But as I said earlier, we're by no means giving up. We're down there. We're trying to do everything we can possibly do. And I know you guys are frustrated. We're frustrated as well, but we're going to keep going here. We're going to keep going at it. So please, please, please call us. I know Annette and I spoke with Warren's particular incident, and I wasn't sure who had actually posted it, but I was speaking to Annette about how important it is to at least report that. As a victim of a crime, you have to decide whether or not you want to proceed with charges. But at least reporting it, we know what's going on. We have the statistics to back up, whether we need more officers, whether we need to put more resources in certain areas. So I can't stress that enough. And then John again was walking the beat. This was a couple of days ago, and the bushes came up. So in the bushes in one of the establishments downtown, he caught someone else using illegal substances. And they also had a number of catalytic converters in their possession. So those were seized and charges laid for that. But again, it was a piece of paper. But these are very expensive items that are stolen off of people's vehicles, which obviously then they have to go through insurance and be replaced. So we do have a bunch of catalytic converters. If you guys happen to start up your vehicles and you haven't for a while and suddenly your exhaust is very loud, that would be the reason for that. So I think besides that, I've been just swamped, I'll be honest. I love going downtown and walking the beat, and I just don't have as much time as I would like to. Monday night, we had an extended incident in the East End for a robbery suspect that was said to possibly have a firearm. So I was on that it was a 20-hour day for me. So luckily that had a good, safe conclusion as well. Suspect was out, he was arrested, everything. We actually had the OPP come in and relieve us and help us out with that. So that's been the last little bit. Our beat numbers are way, way down. We just don't have the resources right now. As I said, right now I have John Balone and myself. And then I'm also torn between the ERT and K9 that I'm also doing. So all I can say is, again, call us. You guys have my email. I try to respond to the emails as quickly as I can and try not to leave you guys hanging. If it's something in progress or things to report, then definitely report through our communication center, but feel free to reach out to me as well. I think that's all I have at this point, unless anyone has any questions from me.
Lizanna, you have a question? You're muted, Lizanna.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Sorry. I'm aware that the budget for the police department was lowered. And I'm totally shocked with all the problems that we have. I think we should have more policemen. And I'm wondering why the budget was cut for the police when they're already so short and can't do what they can do. So I really would like to know why the budget can't be higher for the police department.
Okay, Lizanna, I don't know if that's a question that Sergeant Grantham can answer, and perhaps that's something that you could discuss with our Councillor Wall.
Okay.
No, I can answer that.
Or Mary Davis.
I'll
Thank
answer
you.
that.
Okay.
I sit
All
on the
right.
police service board, Lizanna, and that is not true. The police budget was increased by over 8% this past year, far more than any other city budget. It now amounts to about a quarter of every tax dollar you raise goes to police. So there was a proposal for the hiring of inside, so additional dispatching resources, additional sworn constables, and there was a proposal to have a downtown beat patrol. And there are issues with that, when that could be done, how quickly that could be done. At the Police Service Board, we anticipate that'll be coming up to us as part of the next budget year. And so I won't speak on behalf of the service, I can't, I'm just on the Police Service Board. But it's completely untrue to say that the police budget was cut. It was increased by about 8% this year. And so, I mean, there's only so much you can do in 1 year, both in terms of the available tax money and also just internally to the police service, what they're able to handle from a kind of human resources management perspective in one particular year.
Thank you, Mayor Davis. Lizanna, do you have another question of Sergeant Grantham?
I would just like to direct this to Kevin Davis. If it was increased, I'm really happy about that because I'm a shop owner here as well. So could it be increased more? Because obviously it's not increased enough to have more policemen. And I think the more policemen would be a deterrent for many things and we would feel safer. I don't feel safe anymore. And so I really, really think that's important. Then if it's increased, I commend you. I think it's really great. But it seems like it's not enough to have enough patrol.
Okay, thank you.
I'll also mention, we have some of the highest per capita policing costs in Ontario. So it's on a comparison to other municipalities, we are spending a lot of tax money on policing. And the issue is for any city department or any budget is how much can the taxpayer afford to spend and how much should we allocate to this budget and how much does the police service say that it needs, and it's a balancing.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Chief Davis?
Just to add on to what the mayor said, we did get an increase this budget and I'm grateful for that. Our policing costs are high, but also the dynamics in Brantford are not what you see in other municipalities. The crime severity index shows that. But to your comment about increasing it further, I said this in budget deliberations. I've said this when I've spoken to different groups in the community, and I will continue to say this. What needs to happen is we need to have a very robust and candid discussion about a stratified model of public safety. Everything we've talked about today, there's a huge role for bylaw to take on. There's a role for fire prevention to take on. There's a role for special constables. A lot of what we deal with downtown, I don't need a 10-year veteran to deal with. Just look at the shootings we have here. That's where I need my veteran cops. So if we are going to put more into, and I've always said, police do not have a monopoly on public safety. We're one piece of this. But if there is going to be more money put into public safety, there needs to be a real candid discussion about a stratified approach. And the mayor and I have talked about this. I've said this to the board again. I've said this ad nauseum to people. So thank you for what you're saying. But we also have to, at some point, have a very candid conversation. What's that stratified approach look like?
I guess I just have one more question. With the security that was hired, you cannot do the public, you can only do city-owned property. So that really doesn't help most of the shop, well, all the shops in all the residents. It doesn't really help at all. So I believe the police department can help everybody. So that was why I commented on that.
Okay, thank you, Lizanna. Any further discussion or questions of Sergeant Grantham or Chief Davis? All right, seeing none. Thank you very much, Sergeant Grantham and Chief Davis. City staff or city updates. I'm sorry, Mayor Davis or Councillor Wall? Councillor Wall, go ahead. Sorry.
You first, Mayor Davis. Go ahead.
Well, so Councillor Wall will give his standard report about various initiatives at City Hall, but I wanted to comment on this issue of the task force. First of all, I'd say that, I work in the downtown. I've worked in the downtown now for 42 years. I've lived in the downtown at times periodically. I live in East Ward, Echo Place. And as I said, I'm downtown every day. I'm usually through the downtown at least 2 to 3 times per day. And so I'm seeing what's happening. I can put it in the context of being a downtown, earning my living in the downtown for the last 4 decades. And so, and of course, at the mayor's office, we receive a number of complaints and concerns expressed to us. So I want to tell the delegations that, I understand your concerns. I see it firsthand myself. I've experienced a bit of it myself. I've wrestled with a thief in my garage trying to steal one of my bikes. So I live it, I see it, and I'm committed to try and do something about it. And so far as in response to the task force, Councillor Wall and Councillor Van Tilburg and myself are working on a task force proposal that we'd like to bring to council. We hope to bring to council later this month. But to be clear, task forces don't give you immediate solutions. I've done 2 of them now, 2 mayor's task forces. So I think I've got some experience at it now. And because of the whole process, and a lot of it is getting input from the stakeholders that are part of the committee and the public, et cetera, and then looking at the ideas and sifting through them and coming up with an action plan. That's 6 to 8 months. And Chief Davis is quite right. Task forces, because of that, usually focus on sort of medium, longer term. And I think there's a need for that in respect to our downtown. And that's why the ward councillors and I agree on that. And we're just trying to put together what is the appropriate terms of reference. What are the guideposts that we want this task force to operate within, and who will be on it? So we're working on that. In terms of the immediate problem, we have available resources. The city has some private security, which Lizanna is quite right, has to focus primarily on city-owned properties. And there was a problem on city-owned properties. And like other property owners downtown who've availed themselves of private security, we had to do the same. In fact, we're the largest single property owner in the downtown. It would have been negligent of us not to do that. So the available resources would be police services such as they can provide with everything that they're facing. We have bylaw enforcement, we have public works, we have our parks, we have our private security. So what since the situation has worsened noticeably over the last, say, month, we've been working with myself, the CAO, Chief Davis, the other department heads, trying to, what can we do with our available resources to better deploy them, or say, more better coordination, more effectively. And I'm pretty optimistic, kind of building off our encampment protocol. We have a team that deals with tent cities set up last year, and kind of building off that team and seeing what we can do in the short term over the summer to address the problems that we all see in downtown. And I'm pretty confident that we're going to see some results of that. But there's no magic solution. You all know that. I'll give you an example. I noticed this just as one example of the dilemma of some of these issues. So we had Mary Lou talking about tent cities, and other cities have tried that. Toronto basically did that last summer, and now they're in clean them out. And why? Because, and we saw that with what was called Love City here. And I could tell you the complaints I got from Echo Place and Eagle Place: crime, assaults, drug use. I mean, all the things that you're talking about that we see in the downtown, they saw, but they saw it more intensely, especially those who live near it. And not to mention inside the tent city, the problems with fire, the problem with sanitation, the problem with crime within a tent city. And so, and there have been cities in BC that have tried this. Generally, they don't work because, and what the other problem that happens is, and Carrie's quite right, when you do this, people will come. And we saw that 2 summers ago, and it becomes a regional situation. So give an example. So what we did 2 years ago, we set up the winter shelter, and you may have noticed that happened exactly when Love City was closed down. And that was no coincidence. One had to be done for the other. And then all the problems that I just described that the neighborhoods are had with Love City happened with the winter shelter. And so that was closed in part because the building was no longer available to us. And so we have Marlene Ave in Eagle Place, and that's what's called a wraparound housing support development. So for those that have substance abuse issues, have mental health issues, they can live there and they get services there. But again, there were security problems there. So we have to have 24/7 security there, and that's expensive. So, you know, it's like yin and yang. You do one thing, but something else happens. And for example, washrooms. We've had washrooms in the downtown before, and the situation right now is particularly a bit acute because they're usually with pre-COVID or post-COVID, there's access to certain washrooms through the downtown. But through COVID have been restricted, the access restricted. But we've had experience with washrooms before. And it's kind of like what Carrie is saying. If you have a washroom, it can become, depending on how it's set up, that's where people will use drugs. That's where prostitution can take place. It becomes a magnet for people who have a certain disposition. And then you see an impact on the surrounding neighborhood. And so it's like you're damned you do, damned if you don't. And it's a really complex problem. Like I said, there's no one solution. Every solution creates certain problems in and of itself. And so it's always a balanced approach, right? You want people who, even though they may be homeless and have substance abuse issues or mental health issues, you want them to know that there should be consequences for their misbehavior. And we've heard from Sergeant Grantham the whole problem with that, and how do you create consequences with the legal system the way it is, bail reform, et cetera. And so you want to provide services to those that wish them. And we do have a wide array of services here in this community. We have supportive housing. We're going to be building a new housing, we hope, on Colburn Street West for 55 and up who are single. We, of course, have all the programs St. Leonard's runs and the Grand River Community Health Center, and individualized housing programs the city has for those who want and can and have the ability to live on their own. We found places for 120, I think, since January 1st. So there's a lot of we're doing. But we can't do everything, and we can't do it all at once. And so I think the task force would be, it's a good idea to look at, what we can do, into next year, the following year, maybe a 1 to 5 year plan. And so that's why I think there is a place for a task force, and hopefully we'll get one set up, because that's council's decision, not individual councillors or the mayor. And in the meantime, looking at what we can do through the summer to improve the situation downtown. And that's not all just policing and bylaw, but there's also an element for social services as well, in terms of, because part of what we do with Tent City, there's always a reach out. That's the first response, a reach out. What do you need? What can we do? Because we have capacity in our shelter system. And but if someone rejects that, it's hard to deal with that, because you can't force anybody to take help they don't want. So I'll leave it there, but I want to give you a sampling of just how complex the problem is, and how there's no easy, quick solutions. And it's a bunch of different solutions that are balanced and coordinated. And I think we can do better as a community, and we will. So.
Thank you, Mayor Davis. From the bottom of my heart, thank you. Councillor Wall.
Thank you, Barbara. And thank you, Mayor Davis. So I have my whole update here. I have to chime in on what Mayor Davis just said, because I think it's really important. And if you don't mind, as councillor for the downtown, I just want to share a little bit with this board, especially where I'm at when it comes to this task force, okay? So before I was a councillor, I sat on this board. And before I sat on this board as a business owner in the downtown core, I sat on its marketing committee promoting the downtown core. And prior to that, 20 years ago, I was a homeless youth in downtown. I ran away from home when I was a kid. And my friends and I, we all ran away together, and we literally stayed in the park, stayed in the church. And we had a youth resource center at the time, operated by St. Leonard's. And honest to God, I don't know where I would be if it wasn't for St. Leonard's offering me a bed on the nights that were bad. And I have friends and family and people I grew up with who aren't even here anymore because they didn't get the support and the help they needed. When I was 18, my friends and I had this crazy idea to start a business. And I walked into the BRC downtown, and Mayleg is right there. And Corey Francis gave me guidance and mentorship and helped me start my business and turn my life around. And I mean, it wasn't easy. I had no formal education. I had no support system. I had nobody cared about me. I was literally a street kid hanging out with people who I shouldn't have been hanging out with, and being around things and being a part of things I should have never been a part of. And the only thing that is going to help our vulnerable people in this community is if somebody takes the time to ask them what they want. And I've said this repeatedly to anybody who will listen. What most people need, and it doesn't matter where you are in life, is mentorship. You need somebody who's going to give you a compassionate hand on your shoulder, a pat on the back, and is going to help you get to where you need to be. I didn't get into the position of the councillor of downtown accidentally. I have lived and loved and worked and volunteered and praised our downtown core since I was a kid. And I have lived experience. I've been there. And be it not for the grace of God, I'd be dead had I had gotten addicted, had I had gotten into alcohol or hard drugs. And like I said, I am here today in part on the memory of the people who didn't make it. And I know I say this a little too much, but I mean it when I say it. These people are in the worst part of their lives. And there has to be compassion, mentorship. And one thing I've learned loud and clear from a counselor is if you want to know what people actually want, You have to ask them. And ultimately, I think what they want is a home and support for their mental illness, you know, if they have it, or support for their addiction, or, okay. So I hope that this task force will make it a priority to work with people who have lived experience, who are working with organizations that are providing the supports, because ultimately we can sit around and we can talk about this until the cows come home. We have to do something. Okay, so thank you for indulging me. My update, we had an incredible social services meeting. Marley Miranda is here. The main updates that I wanted to mention were the Brantford grant waiting list information and update. There's too many people on the waiting list. There's too many people in our community who don't have a home and may not have a home in the near future, and that is unacceptable, and we have to do something about it. And I and my council colleagues, and I'm sure other advocates in their community, are going to fight for affordable housing, tiny house projects, case home projects, developers who are willing to build affordable housing, obviously the tax incentives, et cetera, et cetera. There was an update on the affordable housing project we're doing in West Brant. You can read the reports. New City Hall is just about done. We're moving into the new City Hall eventually, if we can ever get past COVID. I talked about the new flagpoles in Harmony Square, which are going to be amazing for being patriotic and for civic events and civic pride. The 4 flagpoles, I think that's going to be amazing. This isn't specific to the downtown core, but it involves access to the downtown core. There was a conversation about the 3 bridges, the Lauren Bridge, the Brant Crossing Bridge, and the TH&B Crossing Bridge. And while I, as a city councilor, didn't support the Brant's Crossing Bridge initiative, it did end up passing. And looks like all 3 bridges are going to be open in the very near future. So that'll be exciting. And everybody seems to love those bridges for their historical significance and their access. I sent this out to Annette and Barbara and asked them to forward it to all members, but the community safety and well-being plan was approved at committee level and will ultimately be going to council at the end of the month. And for anybody who's listening and taking notes, I would ask you to pay attention to pages 14 and 15, which involve safe and vibrant neighborhoods and substance use. Then there was the Neighborhood Association Community Safety Toolkit, which passed at committee level. That's essentially all the neighborhood associations getting together and talking about initiatives that they can do. Because I mean, it all starts with community, right? That's the first part, is people working together for a safe, vibrant neighborhood. And this safety toolkit will give them the tools for things like neighborhood watch and reporting. And I know that the Downtown Central Neighborhood Association, which is based at a central school and usually has a member here at this meeting, might be able to talk more about it, or is planning on talking more about it, so I won't go into it. Project Noisemaker from Councilor McCreary. I don't know, anybody who's been in the downtown, there's a lot of vehicles that make an exceptional amount of noise because of aftermarket tune-ups or alterations. This isn't my baby, it's Councilor McCreary's, but essentially it's giving or requesting from the police for a campaign of sorts to track down loud vehicles. Maybe Mayor Davis can back me up a little bit on this because it's very policy oriented, but the Downtown Community Improvement Plan passed unanimously at committee level, which is just, this is huge. This is long before I was on council. Councilor Newman got all sorts of accolades at council last night about it. It's the Downtown Community Improvement Plan. I'm sure everyone's familiar with it, so I won't bore you with all the details, but it is going to help transform our downtown, which also has an affordable housing component to it, which is amazing because we need housing more than anything. But what we need most is more people in the core. More people in the core brings more taxes, brings more shoppers, brings more businesses, brings more people, brings development. It'll be amazing. I know Gagan agrees with me because I haven't met many people who care more about the downtown than her. So it's great, I think. And ultimately, the last one was a noise bylaw amendment passed at committee level, still has to be ratified at council. Don't be disrespectful with your noise, or bylaw will be able to give you a warning. And if you keep it up, you'll get a fine. You can look into that a little bit more. And then one last thing I forgot during the social services meeting, I sent a video to Barbara and Annette. Obviously, everyone is well aware of the societal issues that we're dealing with in the core. At the last social services meeting during the open question and answer period, I made a request of staff to report back to the social services committee with where they feel that they're at for their level of support from city council and funding from the province or outside funding sources, because clearly the issue has gotten to a point where, well, we're here talking about creating a task force, and do they not have the resources do they need, or is it just not? Essentially, I asked staff to report back with how we could do a better job with remedying some of the societal issues that we're facing in the downtown core. That was a long one, guys. Thank you very much. I'll take any questions.
Thank you, Councillor Wall. I believe Lizanna has a question. Lizanna, your mic is off. Lizanna, we can't hear you.
Thank you for sharing your experience. I think that's very helpful. And it's a real good example for many other people that need help. And I really believe that the cure to this problem is to provide the opportunity, training, education, a building where they can live, eat, and be trained and have everything they need to get on a better life, and to have some dignity so that they can live in this community, not being homeless or whatever you want to call that word. I like what Barbara did. I think it was very good. We'll have to check what to say. I think a task force could look at all that. Maybe the money going into a preventative would certainly save a lot of money and a lot of trouble all the way around for the city. And I believe that Joshua, your experience will really help other people in what I'm talking about as well. So thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you, Lizanna. All right, any further questions or comments for Mayor Davis? Go ahead.
Yeah, I can't overemphasize the importance of that community improvement incentive program. I mean, that is going to have, for 5-10 years, a huge impact, I believe, in our downtown, as it has in the west downtown Hamilton. If you're down that Hess Village area and seen all the development there, that's been driven by something similar to what we're just about to do. It's in fact based on the Hamilton program. And what that is because I just love to publicize what that is. So if you build a building downtown that has a residential component, rental condominiums, places where people live, you meet certain conditions, but you get a rebate every year in your taxes for up to 10 years, and it declines. Okay, and that's a big deal for builders. It makes buildings much more affordable and feasible. And council's asked, and earlier this year, we built in an affordable housing component. So up to 20%. So you never build a completely affordable housing development. Nowadays, you don't do that. You want it mixed. But anyways, we've got incentive, further incentives, further tax rebates. If 20% of the units are allocated to affordability, and there's different definitions of what that is. But so it's a piece of, I think it's a great accomplishment. It'll incentivize development to come downtown, residential, because we want people living downtown. And two, there'll be an affordable housing component of it. And then it's also been extended similar to some of the Grayfield properties in town. So I think it's that cannot be underestimated, I don't think, or what do we do? Overestimated the impact that's going to have.
Thank you, thank you, Mayor Davis. All right. Any further questions of Mayor Davis or Councillor Wall? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to 7.3, and that's city staff updates. And I'm sorry, I'm mindful of the time. It is 10 to 10. Any of the city staff have a quick update? Go ahead, Goggin.
Thanks, Barbara. I'll try to be super quick today. So just as Councillor Wall mentioned, we did complete a council presentation at committee about the 3 bridges. So the recommendation that was approved that night at committee was that we would be reopening Brant's Crossing immediately. We were actually just waiting. It's been closed since 2018, since the flood, and we've been waiting for this environmental assessment to be completed and ongoing so that we can figure out what improvements were necessary to safely open that bridge. And it's been determined that it can be open soon. So we'll be proceeding with that. So that's really great. That's a direct route into downtown. So that'll be really good when it gets up and running again. And then for the downtown streetscaping environmental assessment, the PIC 2 that we had is now complete. We had a lot of involvement from members of the BIA. I spoke with several of you, so thank you so much for your feedback. It's very, very appreciated. I don't know if everybody's had a chance to watch our video online, but we did have a live presentation and a Q&A portion, which is all available on our YouTube page now. There was a lot of information and a lot of questions were asked around businesses and the business community downtown as a whole. So that was great, and you might be able to find some good information in there. And as always, I'm available as well if anybody has any questions. Feel free to reach out to me. The next PIC will have some more details about the actual cross sections we're proposing in terms of, you know, where the bike lane is going to be, which side of the street, where the parking spot's actually going to be. So that'll be coming sometime in the summer. I'll definitely communicate with everybody here going forward so we can ensure that there's a lot of involvement again. And then just a couple of other things. The Clean Brantford campaign, we did run, one of my colleagues helped to run an art contest with the local elementary and high schools here. And we received something like 40 submissions from students of various ages, which is so nice to see. And we're gonna get some public artwork that was submitted, put on our downtown garbage bins that have gone up. I know there were questions around advertising, but as part of Clean Brantford, we're gonna pretty it up a little bit by adding that artwork from those students about why people shouldn't be littering. So hopefully that's something nice to see in the downtown as well. And I was expecting Councillor Wall to mention this, but he had a lot of other updates, so totally understandable. The rainbow crosswalk was installed. I know Councillor Wall, you wanted to mention that, but thought I would bring it up. It was installed last night or late Monday night, early in the morning last night. And it's up and running. We had an unveiling event and Mayor Davis and Councillor Wall were present, as well as members of the Bridge Brand and the Brantford Pride Committee. We had a little bit of walking along the crosswalk to unveil it and a little bit of a ceremony, considering obviously with social distancing restrictions and things that are still in place by the province, but we tried to do the best that we could to mark this milestone and celebrate the diversity and inclusiveness of the city and how the city is really making strides to represent how important that is to us. So that's going to be a permanent fixture and it's located right in front of the library downtown, right at Market and Colburn Street intersection. So if you have some time, go and check it out. It's actually pretty cool. They did a great job at it. And yeah, those are my updates. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Gagan. That's excellent. Any questions of Gagan while we're here? All right, seeing none, but thank you very, very much for the updates. We're on to 7.4 external committee updates. Any external committee updates? I don't know if the committees are even meeting. Do you have an update on a meeting, Dwight? Oh, I can't hear you, Dwight. This is just for updates on committees. Oh, your phone's still off, Dwight. No, okay, I guess not. All right, so, oh, are you there? Do you have an update on a committee meeting, Dwight?
I was just going to ask you, wasn't there a discussion period there? Open discussion?
Well, that comes next.
Oh, okay, well, I'll wait my turn.
All right, well, I guess we're there. Go ahead.
All good things come to those who wait. So I just wanted to ask a question here. We did have an outreach program, which was working there with the health and different services there. And I think it was very important, knowing my work I had did with St. Leonard's for years and years and years and youth resource. But the people that are out on the street here, and a lot of them there, need people to talk to them and understand what their circumstances are, to try to find out what they need to change their circumstances or help them out, especially when it's dealing with drug problems or other issues with stuff. So is there still a bit of an outreach program working, or is that all gone by the wayside? I don't think total policing is the answer for everything with people. And I know certain individuals, talking to a lot of these individuals, some of them have housing, but they choose to live on the streets. There's one individual, without naming names, and talk to some of the regular people, but there's an awful lot of new people out there too, coming into the city, and it's like summer in the city, as I call it, with stuff. But the outreach there, I think, had a definite effect on things as well. So I just asked, is there anything? I don't know.
Mayor, I believe Mayor Davis had his hand up to answer that, Dwight. Go ahead, Mayor Davis.
Yeah, so we did an outreach team, ended last summer, funded through casino proceeds. Casino money has dried up. So, but we did it, working with Laurier, we created an application for government grants and have worked with the St. Leonard's Community Association, using what we did for a year as the model. Let's just say this. I'm really expecting to hear some really good news really soon. And I'm hoping we'll see something in place fairly shortly. But it's conditional upon funding from the higher levels of government. But I'm told all the right signals are coming down from those governments that we could see something this summer. I think Marlene can maybe be a little more specific.
All right.
Hello,
Marlene?
everyone.
Yes, go
Hi,
ahead.
everyone. I'm Marlene Miranda. I'm the General Manager of Community and Social Services, and thank you for having me today. I just wanted to compliment what Mayor Davis was saying. Currently, we have, through the Housing Stability Team, working with the Salvation Army, outreach workers that are going out and doing homeless diversion. And that's a very active component of outreach that's currently going on with the city. And a part of that encampment network. So that is currently in effect, and we've actually increased their services in the downtown core more recently to a couple of times a day, primarily in that Victoria, Nelson, and Market Street area. So that's currently happening. We've also just initiated another outreach person working with that team and and with the library. So they're out there as well. So we have a meeting later this week collectively with all of the different partners to see what outreach services are and how we can together support the downtown core and the vulnerable population. And that's already currently happening in addition to what Mayor Davis is referencing.
Thank you, Marlene. That was a great update. All right. Anything else for open discussion? All right. Thank you, everyone. We're on to number 8, which is notices of motion. I don't believe we have any. Our next meeting is July 14th. And may I have a motion to adjourn? Dwight, and second. Karen, thank you. All in favor? Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Excellent meeting. I appreciate everyone being here and staying with us. Have a good day.
Bye.